The facade is up. And I'm telling you now that Lincoln, as good as he is with offensive play calling and everything else like that, they are gonna continue to only do that. They're gonna be great on offense. When they win, it's gonna be 45 to 40, 45 42, 48 45, stuff like they did all season this season. It's exactly what's going to happen because whenever they go up against a team that's tough, that plays hard-nosed defense, that's what's going to happen to them is what happened to him in the Pac-12 championship. Period. You know why? Because he doesn't change. He could care less. That finesse shit doesn't work whenever you get down to conference championship time.
Let's go!
Welcome back to the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you are definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring that bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Welcome back to the show, everybody. So glad to see everybody here. Talk about, there's been some big recruiting gains for Oklahoma here over the last few days. Looks like they're going to have some more big ones as well. Now, do you want to beat Florida State? Of course. Of course, that's what you want. I mean, you want them to beat them. That being said, again, this hasn't been a season that anybody from Oklahoma has been excited about. I think that the more that I have gone through, and this is something I was saying actually to Bobby earlier, the longer since the season ended, and I mean, obviously that wasn't something that we enjoyed seeing them losing to Tech, particularly when you put up 48 points. Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of talking about. Particularly when you put up that many points and you still lose, that just kind of really highlighted just how much there was lost from this football team with Lincoln Riley leaving. 44% of the team was turned over, but I think the biggest thing, and it's not even really that number, there was 37 total players that were gone from the team that were on the team last year. But 13 of those players that were somewhere in that defensive depth chart were gone. And that wasn't even a great defense, okay? Then you turn around and you have 13 of those players are gone. The only players that really played a whole lot or that played much at all from the year before were really Woody Washington, obviously Redmond, and then Stutzman was playing some. But aside from those guys, there really just wasn't a whole lot of guys that had been there and had any experience. And on top of that, even the ones that did have any kind of experience at all, they were not experienced in the Brent Venables defense, which, as we all know, is very, very different. Yeah, I'm sure you were, Coach. Yeah, Coach was excited about it. He's a big OU fan. That defense was just different. And it's a lot more, well, schematically, everything else, it's a lot more advanced as far as you need to be in the places that you're supposed to be in. It'll work great, but it's not anything like the speed defense that Alex Grinch had before, which we know wasn't great anyway when it comes to even this season. USC, as I'm going to talk about here in a few minutes, they were, allowing a lot of points too. A lot of points, Same kind of deal when you have that many guys, that the ones that you do have left, they're not used to this kind of defense. They're not in the physical shape that you would hope that they would be in, because it wasn't the same under Lincoln. And so there was some issues there. Now, the longer that I've gone on, this is what I was trying to say was, since the end of the season, the more I've thought about it, the more you realize is that there was just that many obstacles in front of Coach Venables. And to his credit, he tried to tell everybody before the season that there was a lot to do, that you had to rip it down to the studs in order to be able to really build it back up into what you expect it to be. Now, that being said, that was going to take the kind of recruiting that Oklahoma has done. And something that we saw after the McCullough brothers, you have Day that was at Indiana. He's an edge rusher, linebacker. He had a great season for Indiana. He's going to be transferring in along with his brother. Both of them are 4 stars. His brother is a 4-star safety out of that area as well. Their dad is the running backs coach at Notre Dame, which kind of surprised me that they didn't go to Notre Dame, but here we are. They are going to be at yeah, we'll talk. As we talk. Okay, just to answer your question real quick, no, they're not going to start Jackson. I don't think they're going to start Jackson Arnold unless he comes in and just wins it. Which, if that's the case, if he comes in and just takes the position, something like what you saw with at Clemson a few years ago, as a true freshman, but you don't see that very often. If he was to come in and win it, then fine, fine. But I feel like you're going to get a lot more portal players coming. I think so as well. Yeah, Weston, you're right. I think you're going to see a lot more portal players coming. But with these two guys, that pushes Oklahoma into the top 5. Already, Oklahoma had the best recruiting class it's ever had in the 247 era. Now it's in the top 5. If what a lot of people think, and this is probably going to trigger Coach Roybal, if Peyton Bowen does flip as everybody's expecting, it's probably a top 3 class now, which is way above anything that has happened at Oklahoma ever. And the biggest part of that being that you're going to have, it's mostly defense that they're building up. They've got some really, really good players. Yeah. And I think that's exactly right, Coach. That's exactly right. You had to get worse. But we said it. I've said it in previous podcasts, previous shows before, was that it had to break. It had to break all the way. And the reason that it had to break all the way is because of the fact that that facade that was built up there. And the facade is the same thing as what's going on at USC right now. Everybody's so excited about Lincoln and the Heisman Trophy and getting as far as they did when they were 4-8 a year ago. Everybody's so excited about it and triggered about us saying anything about it here. All right. I don't care that you're triggered, USC boys. I just don't give a shit. The facade is up. And I'm telling you now that Lincoln, as good as he is with offensive play calling and everything else like that, they are gonna continue to only do that. They're going to be great on offense. When they win, it's going to be 45-40, 45-42, 48-45, stuff like they did all season this season. It's exactly what's going to happen, because whenever they go up against a team that's tough, that plays hard-nosed defense, that's what's going to happen to them is what happened to them in the Pac-12 championship. Period. You know why? Because he doesn't change. He could care less. That finesse shit doesn't work whenever you get down to conference championship time, when you get up against a team. Coach Whittingham, to me, I'm telling you, I feel like that dude is the most underrated head coach in the country, period. He's beaten every big time. That dude has beaten every big time coach in the country, Nick Saban included. The dude just knows how to win. And they start with defense, and they're tough. They have mental toughness. They play a physical style of football, and that is not what Lincoln Riley's about. The first year that he was head coach at Oklahoma, yeah, they got to the Rose Bowl. They had Baker Mayfield. They had all those big guys. But you could see the next year when they went to the Orange Bowl, you could see that they were different. They were smaller, that Schmitty was gone. All of a sudden, they're doing things different, not getting as bulky. They want them faster. They don't care about size. It was different. Okay. And that's exactly the best. The best chance SC probably had was this season. And it's not going to get easier now, because I'm telling you, the longer he keeps Alex Grinch and keeps his philosophy the way it is, they're screwed. They're never going to play defense. They're never going to play defense. They're just not. And until you can do that, you're not winning national championships. He's already been to 3 as a head coach, 3 playoffs, got his ass whipped in all but one of them. And not just beat, his ass whipped. You know? Yeah, no kidding. Again, but going back to the recruiting for this season, what you're seeing is they're going to end up in the top 3 probably, because you also have Tassili Akana, who is, he's that 4-star, another edge guy. He's supposed to be going to, I believe, Miami. I think they have him going to Miami, but there's 3 crystal balls out on Oklahoma right now. Everybody is switched, including Wilfong. Obviously, Parker and Brandon are the other 2 guys. But when Wilfong is saying it too, that guy has a overall, and for his career, he has picked 3,660 out of 4,001 correct on where they're going. 91% correct on where they're going. So yeah, that's one of those deals where, yeah, look, you end up with that, you're talking top 3 for sure. They're already, they had already the best Oklahoma recruiting class in history. They're just making it better. So for all the naysayers and all the I'm so worried about what happened this season, it had to break. They had to get worse in order to get better. They just did. Okay. It's, yeah, Hicks is in home tomorrow, then OU Thursday. Yeah. With the A&M tomorrow. Okay, yeah. And again, I've been kind of saying throughout the week, I feel like Hicks is the one that I don't really feel like they're going to flip. There hasn't really been any indication that that's the case, that that's going to happen. Why he's still going to stay going to A&M, I have no idea. But, it seems like that's the case. Now, imagine if he does flip to Oklahoma. Wow. Now, can all of these guys play right away? Maybe not. Probably not. But it ought to tell you what's about to happen, And the truth of it is, if you start thinking about this season, and we've talked about this a lot, Bobby and I were talking about this, and we've talked about it a lot in the past, is that, okay, they lost 6. 4 of those were 1-score football games. Just the law of averages alone, if it's, 7 points or less, 1-score games, the law of averages alone means that's not going to happen again, say next year. If they get in a bunch of freaking 1-score games, they're going to win more of them. Okay. They lost 4 this season, and I think 3 of those were by less than 6. Now, as far as when you start looking at next season, and on top of that, they still won those 6 games. Now, they had the bad loss with Texas. They had the bad loss with TCU. They didn't have Dylan Gabriel in. The quarterback room wasn't great. Aside from Dylan Gabriel. But I would tell you that yeah, exactly. I think it's definitely got to be that. You don't think he's going to flip either? I know, Coach. If we don't play Kansas State next year. Yeah, that's something we definitely need to get into before too long, as far as like how this scheduling is going to go with the new teams coming in. My thing is that they definitely need to they need to play Oklahoma State 2 more times and not just one. Okay. That would be my thing on that. But kind of going back to what I was saying, just so I can finish my thought. I feel like definitely you can see that it very easily, they could have won 8 games. Say they win 2 out of the 4 that they lost by 1 score, which they very easily could have. Think about the West Virginia game. They lost that stupid penalty that took a touchdown off the board. That changes it. They make a stop on that last drive instead of having an offsides penalty or something like that. That changes it. You had the same type of deal against Baylor. They had, the interceptions were in the first half, but they had some stupid penalties towards the end of the game that kept drives going, right? It was things like that often in these games. Same with the Kansas State game. You have Adrian Martinez go crazy, but Oklahoma put up 500 plus, almost 600 yards of total offense in the game too. So little things that could have had the thing go either way did. For instance, in the K-State game, you had 3rd and 19 or something like that, and they give up, and the guy goes for, on a quarterback sneak play, he picks up the first down. If he doesn't do that, they have to punt. Instead, they go on down there and score. They win the game. There's 3 games right there that they very easily could have won had it not been for stupid stuff, right? Then now you're looking at an 8-4 season. Doesn't look near as bad as 6-6. And you still had a defense that was ranked 120 out of 131. Okay. It's completely different than what I would tell you with USC. Here's the time when I get to trigger the SC people. And this should be fun. Congratulations to Caleb Williams on your Heisman Trophy. I would say most definitely he deserved it. He was the best player in the country. I know a lot of people were pissed off about the whole fingernail painting, and it said F Utah on them. I agree with you. It was kind of classless. Now, that being said, he still deserved it. I'm just saying there's plenty of reason, Coach, to be optimistic about next season instead of all this doom and gloom that you get a lot of from some of the crazier fans, right? That's all I'm getting at. They still have plenty to do, and you have to make those adjustments now. Period. That's it. You have to make those adjustments. Now, what I do know is this. When it comes to Lincoln Riley, he doesn't make those adjustments. He doesn't think he needs to. And according to all the fans and everybody else in Los Angeles, they don't care. They think that it's on the way, that they're going to get a ton better. I think they're not. But talking about Caleb Williams, great game or a great season for him. He put up, what was it? He had 4,075 passing yards, 37 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions, 69.6 completion percentage. That's a hell of a season. Hell of a season. Now, for the people that were saying Max Duggan, who had a great freaking season, by the way, as well. Okay. I've got a lot of respect for the way Max played. He ended up with 3,321 yards, 30 touchdowns, also only 4 interceptions, passing for 62.4. And really, that conference title game, that drive where he went down and I think he had 95 rushing yards on that drive and then threw that touchdown. They basically had to carry him off because he was so tired. What a game. And they ended up losing it. I felt like he got in when they ended up kicking that field goal. Or no, when they ended up going for it. I felt like he had gotten in on the play before that. And then the running back didn't get in, but I felt like he had on the play before. You can say whatever you want. And, it was inconclusive as far as the replay was concerned because you couldn't really tell on that shot. Live, it looked like he made it in. Whatever. They're going to still be in the playoff. Thankfully, they're still in the playoff. But had it not been for, USC doing their thing and doing what Lincoln Riley teams do, they wouldn't have been in. So that would have been kind of a tough deal. Now, you know, not necessarily to handicap as far as what's going to happen with the playoff, but you know, they've got a tough out in Michigan. We'll see what happens. But I definitely feel like Caleb Williams still deserved it. He was without a doubt the best player in the country, in my opinion. I thought he was the best player in the country a year ago when he was at Oklahoma. Um, oh, well, go ahead, bro. Love you too. uh, I definitely felt like he was the best player in the country a year ago when he was at Oklahoma as well. Obviously, he didn't play the whole season. He wasn't going to win the Heisman over Bryce Young. Bryce had another fabulous season. I thought that he should have been invited to New York again. I didn't see where C.J. Stroud really did. I honestly, in their two losses, Bryce Young was better than his opponent was. Both of them. They lost by like, what was it, 3 total points for the whole thing. So I felt like definitely it was Caleb's to lose. It was Caleb's to lose. I felt like he won it. So that's just kind of where I'm at on it. I wouldn't have had a huge problem with Max Duggan doing it. And I would say again, you know, was it kind of classless what, you know, Caleb had on his fingernails? Yeah. But that being said, it was for him and his teammates and whatever it was that he was trying to do to get himself pumped up from losing the game earlier in the season, so be it. Okay. It doesn't change the fact that he was the man. Now, the other reason I feel like that's the case is because of this. They had USC, much like Oklahoma a year ago, had 5 one-score games throughout the season. They won 4 of them, lost the one to Utah in Salt Lake by a 2-point conversion, so they lost by 1 point. But they won 5 one-score games. A year ago, when at Oklahoma won 6 one-score games and a 7th one that they ended up winning by 12, but they were losing going into the 4th quarter to Kansas. Any 5, 6 of those games, Oklahoma very easily would have lost, should have lost, had it not been for Caleb Williams. Maybe not 5 or 6, but at least half of those. Okay. The Texas game, there's no way they win that one. There's no way they win the Kansas game without him. There's no way that they win the Kansas State game without him. The TCU game, no, that was Spencer. But, I mean, all these games that he ended up having to win for you. Now, it's the same kind of thing. But it was very evident that as Oklahoma went, it was Caleb going. Same thing. As Caleb Williams went this season, so did USC. Same deal. And so that's why, to me, he deserved the Heisman. Okay. The last time that I talked about this, I took a bunch of heat. As a matter of fact, as some of you may or may not know, I got blocked by Lincoln Riley. Now, I don't get on Twitter and do a lot of tweeting at Riley or anything. In fact, I don't ever tweet at him. I never have. I don't care. I don't care that he's gone. I was blocked on Twitter because of something I said here, which is funny to me. I almost wear it as a badge of honor because I'm not doing anything but telling the truth. The guy doesn't win close games, and it's weak. It's weak the way that he does things. As I said, he had 6. He's not ever going to put the defense together the way he's going to need to. And all these freaking USC fans that come in here and talk trash on my videos, and then they go in and they start talking a bunch of shit on Twitter too. I don't care what any of you folks think. I don't. The simple fact of the matter is Lincoln right now is probably no. And I agree with you that. I would agree with you on that, Weston. I would. The thing is like, even in that game, I mean, what was it? He had 363 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception in that game. Okay. They didn't stop anybody, you know, and then of course, towards the end of the game, man, he was getting beat up. He got beat to hell too. That being said, I can tend to agree with you on that. In the first loss that they had, he had 5 touchdowns and no interceptions, 381 yards. That's on the road in Salt Lake. I mean, hell, all you have to do is not give up 40 something freaking points and you win that one, you know? Period. It truth is, maybe if it was anybody but Utah, they might have. I mean, I don't know that they beat Oregon or don't. I think that they probably beat Oregon. I think that Utah has just the kind of game plan that's going to hurt a team like SC. So, I mean, whether or not we agree on the Heisman guy or whatever, who else was better? I mean, if they give it to Duggan, okay. But the one thing I would say about that is he didn't beat him in yards or touchdowns or completion percentage. He had him in wins. He had him in wins. But I don't know, man. It just, to me, I feel like I think it's supposed to go to the best player in the country, and I think that it did. You know what I mean? And he had to do what he did in order for them to even get where they got. Let me ask you this, Weston. What do you think happens if they don't have Caleb Williams playing quarterback for him this year? What does that football team look like? I mean, let me know. Tell me what you think. What does that football team look like? Are they close to the freaking conference championship game? Because I don't see it. And Weston, thank you. All right, good answer. See, 6-6. I said that the other day too. I feel like there's no way they're anywhere close to that conference championship game. If they were a little better, maybe. They went 4-8 a year ago. 4-8. So to me, that's why I say he gets the freaking Heisman, because that was the difference. They won 11 games this season, because of it, because of him. Because again, they had 5 one-score games. They won 4 of those. The other one, he had a major game. He had, 5 touchdowns and almost 400 yards. Even in the losing that other one, there was losing the conference championship game, he still had 380 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Now, he got his ass kicked by a better defense, but Lincoln got out coached, plain and simple. And that happens to him when he goes up against somebody like that.